There is a delegation that is here for item number 33, and in item 33, which is actually a clause that refers to the delegation, there is an attachment that refers to a possible location, and since I know the owner, even though I have no financial interest, I have stayed well clear of any of this debate. So Phil is going to take the chair, and here Paul and Jeff, who are here to make their submission, and then you guys are going to sort out item 33, and then we're coming back to the council meeting 1:30. If you need longer than that, text me. Yep, so that I'm assuming this will take you 20 minutes, half an hour, and then you get an hour for lunch, and then we're back here at 1:30. Okay, thank you, Phil.
So who's making the submission? So have I got Jeff Fried and Paul Farrow to make a deputation? Okay, so
Mr. Chairman,
you'll be aware that you have 10 minutes to speak with us, including question time. So if you would like to allow for that.
well, I would hope we won't be 10 minutes on this particular issue, but I'm happy to let Paul kick off.
The situation is that we understand that there's a degree of urgency to make the decision on the bus lounge in Riccarton, and what we wanted to do is just address the council regarding that urgency, because we think that we need more time, and so what we don't want is for this decision to go to the Environment Committee and try to get this all cleaned up by the end of the year. You know, we're aware that there's still some unresolved issues regarding the bus lounge. In particular, we've been in touch with Westfields, and they are quite keen to go back to the negotiating table in order to get a resolution on the bus lane where it currently exists, and which was the second proposal. And the other thing is that we understand that the current proposal, which is on the corner of Diva and the Diva building on the corner of Division Street and Riccarton Road, that the building is not up to earthquake code. And because of the amount of work that's going to be required and the cost, we found out late last night that it might not be a viable option, and that a new site, or the original site, is now being negotiated by the council staff, and so that it is going to go back to JKK. That's the previous, that's what we call the building. So we don't feel that this can be resolved, especially before Christmas.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the view of the Residents Association, of course, is that we're very concerned about this proposal, but we would support Paul's comments that it is a matter of some considerable importance, and we believe that it's a matter the council as a whole should be considering, rather than leaving it to an environment subcommittee, so to speak. But we'd be happy to make submissions in due course to whichever body of the council is going to resolve the issue.
Thank you. So are there any questions from councillors? Yanni?
Yeah. Do you have any comment on whether it should be delegated to the committee, which will be about, I think, 4 councillors versus the full council?
Yeah, I've just said that.
Yeah. So is the deputation of quite clear that that what they would like and seeking is that the decision actually be made by the full council?
Yes.
Am I correct?
That's right.
So that's the answer to
But
your question,
in terms of a recommendation from the board to the committee to council, or are you happy for it just to go straight to council from the community board?
Oh, we're happy for it to go straight to the council.
Yeah. Okay, we can consider the process, but you'll be aware too that what's in the report is that in fact the community board be involved by way of being able to make a recommendation, and that they be fully involved in the processes. So Paul and then Jimmy.
I'm just actually interested in the conversation with Westfield that you guys had, because we've been given quite a clear steer that they weren't interested in actually doing business with us on having a transport exchange on that piece of land.
Well, a colleague of mine's been doing the negotiating, and I had a meeting with him last week, and he got in touch with Westfields in Auckland on Friday to see if there was any room or whether they're prepared to negotiate. And they said, yeah, no, they're quite happy to come back to the negotiating table with regarding resolving the bus stop outside Riccarton Mall. So, you know...
They had placed...
And your question though, Paul?
We've gone through this here, and
Yeah, but
that is our preferred
at this
site.
stage though, in terms of deputation, in terms of standing orders, it needs to be a question, so...
Fine.
Okay, Jimmy Jen.
Well, okay, the question
Sorry,
is then, can we get that in writing?
Yes, I can.
Fabulous.
Okay, thank you. Jimmy.
Thank you, Chair. When you make the deputation to the council staff, did you get any reply from staff when we have a kind of a formal response or have whether have a kind of hearing or not?
So have we had any response from the staff? It's been mixed. The initial proposal that we did get was flawed, and it was very misleading, was the proposal. And I've been endeavouring to get in touch with the staff to see if there's been any approach by the council to resolve any of our current problems, regarding air pollution, noise pollution, the parking. We've had no feedback yet from the council staff, and I've been endeavouring to get information as to what's actually happening with the current site. We endeavoured to find out whether the council were in fact going to be paying for the upgrade of the building to bring it up to earthquake standards, which, from a business point of view, we feel that that's basically the landlord's responsibility and not the council's. But I haven't been able to get clarification from the council staff as to whether that is actually happening. And as to regarding the location of the new site, I have had no luck this morning in getting an opinion as to what site is actually on the agenda.
Thank you. Can I point out, though, those issues aren't really in relation to the decision we're making today. Today it's really only about in relation to the delegation and who makes the decision making. There was another question. There's no further... Oh, sorry, David?
I probably just really wanted a clarification over the Westfield site. Are you telling us that Westfield are happy to renegotiate that site alone with no other strings attached as to what may happen to other pockets of land around the other, which has been the stalling point in previous negotiations? So,
no, I can't give an assurance that all they're prepared to do is come back to the negotiating table.
yeah.
There's no further questions, councillors? Okay, thank you for your deputation, and we'll now consider the item.
Thank you,
you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So, councillors, the recommendations. Perhaps it would be good if staff now join us, perhaps to explain their position, and there might be some other comment from staff. Thanks,
Mr.
Richard
Chairman.
and Philip.
As council is aware, the delegation was previously given by council to the then Environmental Committee. The advice was that because there's a new committee, the Infrastructure, Transport and Environment Committee, this mechanism is necessary to roll that delegation over to the new committee. There's quite a comprehensive series of meetings planned with the committee and the community board jointly to take this through to December, starting next week with a joint briefing, and then a community board meeting on the 25th of November, and then coming through to the the ITE committee on the 4th of December. So there's quite a comprehensive process in place. Today is really about confirming the previous delegation to the committee from council, which is the purpose of this paper.
Thanks, Richard. Can I just clarify with you too? One of the recommendations in the report pertain to the need for the timeliness around the decision making, and that in fact there's time constraints. I'm just wondering, in fact, if in fact council were to meet before the end of the year and make these decisions, in fact, if in terms of the overall timing for it to be, well, preferably started before April next year,
yes.
if in fact that will allow council sufficient time.
If council met before Christmas, it would.
Okay. So in that sense, if the delegation in relation to these projects at this stage was with the council, that would still be workable.
Yeah, we're still working back from the opening of the new central interchange in April, so we're still working back from that date. But if the council met before Christmas, that would.
Thanks, Richard. Questions? So, Andrew, and then.
Thank you. Timeliness is clearly one of the big considerations in this. And on the face of it, what we've been asked to make is a simple procedural decision. But of course, because of the level of public interest and the timeline restrictions, it's become a wider discussion than that. There are a couple of things that were raised in the deputation that I'd like to get a staff view on if I can. The suggestion that Westfield are happy to reopen negotiations, the suggestion that the proposed site is not up to earthquake code and that alternatives are being considered. Can I get some staff comment on that? Because clearly we've heard that from the deputation. I think in terms of making this decision around timelines, it's important that we've got facts in front of us rather than things that may or may not in fact be happening.
Yes, Westfield would always be open to reopening negotiations. There's no doubt in our mind as staff on that. But there was some issues with, as councillors have been briefed on, with those negotiations that it just didn't work for us as council. So, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that Westfield will always be open to, because of their interest in other council land. Earthquake strengthening, it's the landlord's responsibility, not council's. There is, however, issues around council buildings, public buildings requiring a higher earthquake standard. What was the other question, councillor?
So the third question leads on from that, whether as a result of the requirement for additional earthquake strengthening to the proposed building, whether other alternatives have been considered.
Yeah, so there's no decision on that. We're still looking at this current building, and our briefing next week will explore all those issues. Yeah.
With the new transport interchange opening in April next year, and the issues around, because in my mind I think to get a result around Westfield working with that would be the ideal outcome. Could we still operate the current status quo in there with the new transport interchange? Would there be any issues with doing that if we so decided to actually hold off and see if we can resolve something with Westfield?
I see. It just gives a really poor service for passengers, because there'll be a higher frequency on Riccarton Road, and it's the outbound passengers that have to join as part of the hubs and spokes model, the Environment Canterbury model. So passengers would be waiting in awful facilities, or almost no facilities, to make connecting bus trips. So in terms of the central interchange, it's just that really poor level of service for passengers. On the inbound, it's not so important.
Yeah, I think the other issue is that there's very poor crossing facilities at that location.
Arguably, the whole Riccarton Road is actually a poor situation for anybody trying to get across it.
But particularly at Westfield.
Questions. First one, you particularly mentioned, this the Riccarton Public Transport Hub should stop in the waiting lounge is part of the metro significance status. And also the other one is the Riccarton Corridor Public Transport Bus Priority Project is also part of them. I'm concerned that this is the time frame, timeline. First one, my understanding, the publication, the consultation, the expiry date has been on the 28th of October. So up to now, almost more than 2 weeks. What is the staff, the analysis, comprehensive report, when the council can receive this report?
Yep, so that'll be finished on the council analysis of that information is being done now, close on the 28th of October. That comes to council it comes to the Infrastructure, Transport and Environment Committee as a briefing on the 19th next week with the Community Board. And it also comes to the the Infrastructure, Transport and Environment Committee on the 4th of December, all that information. That's just on the lounge, on the public transport lounge, all that consultation. So following that consultation, obviously there'll be council staff will look at that and see what changes can be made. Now the other question you asked was about the corridor priority for Riccarton Road. So again, that information will come to the ITE committee on the 4th of December for consideration of consulting on that, which won't be until the new year. So that'll be early new year, 2015, that the corridor priority will be consulted on.
My particular concern, if these two facilities are all belong to part of metropolitan significant status, if we go ahead one of them, the other one not yet, have a consultation until next year. So whether, can match and, to comply with the time schedule, this is my particular concern. Another one regarding to the combined, join the infrastructure and the environment committee as well as community board. This meeting is open or closed?
The briefing next week is public excluded. Next week's briefing, but the committee meeting on the 4th of December is open. Just your point about the two issues. Yes, they do all mesh together, and in terms of priority for the route, there needs to be structural changes on the road, such as the intersection of Deans Ave and Riccarton Road, where the current roundabout is. So the proposal will be to signalise that intersection. So there's those sort of structural changes that will come about as a result of the route priority.
Questions that you reply to the Councillor Turner regarding to a moment we still, continue to negotiate with the kind of Westfield Mall, etc. If we go ahead the first part, if after later, eventually they agreed, so how to alleviate or remediate this situation?
I'm not sure I caught your question, but to be fair, we've done Westfield to death. We negotiated with them for months and months.
And there are reasonable limits on staff time. I've got a speaking order, and that is Ali and then Yanni. It's been answered, Yanni?
Yeah, thanks. I just was a little bit unclear from the recommendations. What's going to community board and then to the committee, and then what's going to straight to the committee? So
Yes.
am I right in thinking that there's some projects are going through for community board recommendation to the committee for final sign-off, and others are just going straight to the committee.
Yeah, so that's correct.
So can you just help me understand
So
on page 473?
So the joint briefing on the 19th of November is everything. That's the joint briefing to the committee and the community board.
Yeah.
And then on the 25th of November,
Yeah.
there's a report to the community board regarding the on-street bus stops, the on-street changes. And that is a Part A item recommendation to the committee on the 4th of December. Yeah. So you're correct in your
And then
your question.
the waiting lounge isn't going to the community board.
No,
it's just
no,
going straight to the
that's
committee.
going straight to the committee on the 4th of December.
So wouldn't it be better to have those two things linked? Because if the community board say,
Yeah.
no, we're not going to move the bus stops, doesn't that
Yeah.
impact on the...
Well, that's then for the committee to make that call.
Right. So if we wanted it... Yeah, well, I just wanted to understand if we're moving an amendment to have it come to council, what is the wording that we need? So it seems to me that the only thing we really need to change is just putting those two projects together, going to the community board, going to the committee, and then coming to council.
Well, I was going to actually, in relation to that, I was going to check with the staff if in fact it would be more workable to have, because of the public interest in the hub waiting lounge and the transfer stop, if in fact that came to council, but that given the different decisions that are going to be required around the priority lanes for public transport, that in fact that remain as recommended here with the committee. I just wondered if the staff had a view on that, please.
Well, both. Yeah, that would work. In terms of hearings, it was our people will want to make submissions. That would have to go to the committee, and the committee would have to make a recommendation to council, which is what you're talking about now. But prior, the prior delegation from the council meeting on the 26th of June gave that authority to the committee to have a hearing and make a decision.
So, okay, I just wanted to check that the second question I had was around the hubs and spokes model. So if that model changes, is this level of investment still warranted? Because, you know, I know the hubs and spokes models are kind of an ideology.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's driven post-earthquake, the need to kind of respond to the financial situation. But long term, if we get, you know, having people on buses not having to transfer all the time, it's probably a much more sensible approach. Then would this project still have the need?
Yeah, yes, it would. What won't change is the high-frequency bus routes. And Riccarton Road is one of our high-frequency bus routes. The same will be for Papanui Road. So what won't change in this whole bus priority is identifying those key corridors for high-frequency bus routes and priority measures for those high-frequency bus routes. There'll always be local services that will spin off from those, but the whole thrust is for you know, faster, quicker, more convenient, safer, and better facilities for passengers who currently have to wait in very substandard conditions, and crossing the road, as Philip said, is even difficult.
Thanks, Richard. Question from Paul, and then I think we should wrap up the questions,
I
Councillor.
want some clarification on hub and spoke. It is my understanding that the new transport interchange in the city is designed as a hub and spoke design and cannot be changed in the future. So there is no way around. If the hub and spoke model fails, it has to continue on because the design of the new transport interchange is a hub and spoke model.
So I can't answer if the new interchange can't be altered, but it was predicated going right back to have your say after the earthquakes, where people didn't want the central city full of buses. They wanted fewer buses in the central city. So yes, it's designed to get buses in and out of there quickly on high-frequency routes coming into the city. But no, I couldn't say whether it couldn't be changed in the future.
Thanks, Richard. Councillors, in terms of discussion, I'm going to propose an amendment following the questions and discussion, and that's particularly in relation to 6.2, and so that we delete the terms Infrastructure, Transport and Environment Committee, and I guess because of tight timelines too, and just insert the word council, so that in fact that the final decision on the public transport hub waiting lounge is made by council. It seems that it would fit the timeline. The other recommendations, though, I'm going to strongly suggest that they still remain. There's a lot of fine tuning to be done around the Riccarton priority lanes, and the councillors will recall that the whole reason we set up new committees was so that decisions could be made in a timely fashion. And it just seems to me this is the most workable. I think it's a very good point that council decide on this particularly contentious part, and I'm happy to move that amendment, but no further ones. But that's open to discussion. Jimmy, Chen, and then Andrew.
Thank you, Chair. But regarding the second facility, Riccarton Road Corridor Public Transport Bus Priority Project, even go to the dedicate to the committee. But I'm concerned whether council, all the councillors might have, to have a workshop, etc. Because up to now, looks like we're only aware the first facility, waiting lounge. We have no any idea regarding the public transport bus priority project. Whether can put in here, yes.
Except, Jimmy, there's been a succession of meetings, of council meetings too, where all of this has actually been discussed. I've got them in the timeline in front of me, starting from well back at the beginning of this council's term. And there's been a lot of recent information that's come too. And of course, other councillors will be welcome to come to the Kite Committee.
No, I mean the second one rather than first one. A particular mention is a Riccarton Road Corridor.
Are you referring to 6.2, yes. Jimmy, or which one are you referring to? The recommendations on page 473, which we're now discussing.
It's a 6.3, yes. It's not a 6.2, 6.3.
Yeah. And you're already asking for that to come to council too? And I've just tried to give a quick response. Well, in fact, there's already been a lot of information, but you have a vote on that. So I've got Andrew.
I think it's important we remember the background to all this. I mean, this actually came to council in a different form in December 2013, so almost a year ago. It's been around for some time, and it's been debated quite thoroughly, and a number of different options have been put on the table, and I'm sure there are some technical considerations and lots of other work that I'm not aware of, in as much as I haven't been involved in the work of this particular committee. But there is a need for speed around this. We do need this to land so that we can get on with the work. I think it's important that we keep the debate today around the decision which we're making today, which is in fact the process that this is going to go through for this final decision making. There's clearly some public interest, a large amount of public interest. Clearly there's some time pressure around this as well. I'm certainly supportive of the amended resolution that's been put up there. I think if we can bring this back to council, that recognises both the need to do this in a timely fashion, but also recognises the wider metropolitan public interest that we're seeing in this as well. Whilst there are some other issues that we could be debating around the hubs and spokes model and public transport in general, I think it's important that we keep the debate today to just this issue, but that we make sure that what we do as part of that final decision and when the report comes back is future-proofed in that way. Now, I just wanted to also make some comments around the drafting of the changed resolution, because what we've actually got in clause, I think it's 6.2, yeah, the council delegate the decision to the council. I think we probably just need to redraft that council agree that it be the decision maker or something of that nature, just so that it reads a little bit better. So a little bit of wordsmithing going on there, but I think it just would make it clear, yeah, council retain the decision. Great, thank you.
To rescind the previous council decision before we...
Just for clarity, so Andrew, you're suggesting that we just refer the delegation?
No, you just reread it.
How do you, I'm just, what are you suggesting? Can we get your advice on that too, Peter? The Councillor Turner's made the point that in fact, if at the moment we're asking council to refer the delegation to council.
I agree with the point. Yes.
So it's just how we should word that.
Yeah.
So if we just add the word "the," that's it. We're at home and dry. Done.
I think that it still needs to have because of tight time frames.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
So we leave those words in because of tight time frames. Thanks, Andrew.
I'm happy to like it on.
Yeah, thank you. So on that basis, Andrew Turner is happy to second, and I've got Yanni and then Paul.
To find out what the cost of that financial delegation is. So how much money is on budget for that priority project? Is it currently funded? And if so, how much?
It's part of the Crown funding agreement, part of the shared cost of $91 million for the central interchange, the super stop Central City, priority on Riccarton Road, public transport hubs at Northlands and Riccarton. So it's part of that 91 cost share.
Each project has a financial component.
Yeah.
I'm just unclear about how much money we're delegating away to the committee to go and spend.
Yeah. We don't have the final price on the corridor yet. That is coming urgently.
Okay, so I mean, I find it really hard to delegate away a decision without knowing how much the quantum is. I also understand that this is actually Sarah's project, so I still have no idea why we're doing all the work, paying for all the engagement, when in the cost share, this is like, ties into all those other projects, the super stop in Manchester Street, etc. Is it envisaged that those other priority projects will also be delegated to the committee, or we'll get further reports on, or are they just being done separately?
Yanni, I would these are in relation to, I urge us to stick to what Andrew Turner said in relation to focusing on the delegation. Otherwise, I think we're going to get very mixed up. And like these delegations clearly refer to the Riccarton hub and to the bus priority lanes.
Yeah, but
so I'm not sure what else you want to know.
Well, if you look at 3.2, what I'm concerned
3.2?
about is the precedent that this sets for all the other priority routes if we delegate it to the committee.
I think I would say these delegations are very specific to these routes. Okay, Paul.
Okay, so I don't...
Look, I'm actually struggling with this full stop, to be fair, and I'll say why. Look, we've got a massive opportunity to change the way we do our transport interchanges and our hubs. We've got major activity centres throughout the city. These activity centres should be forced into, not should I say planned into, actually complying and actually supporting the transport options within the city. Through the district plan, we could actually put in rules that will actually enable us to acquire the land off Westfield, put in a transport interchange and have it fully integrated, and we could do this right across the city. This is a poor cousin to what we should be having. And I'm really struggling with it. That's really what I want to say. It's to me, it's a problem. It's just a short-term band-aid on what is a wider issue we're going to be dealing with right across the city. And now's the time, while we're actually fixing our city and actually building a better future and a better transport option for the public of Christchurch, which we want to actually get out of their motor cars and into public transport. This, as I say, I don't believe this is actually the answer, and I'm going to struggle with it.
I'm not support this recommendation. The reason is very simple, because if the metropolitan significant status consists of the facility for the Riccarton public transport hub, the super stop and the waiting lounge, as well as Riccarton Road corridor public transport bus per hour public, the project. Also, my understanding when we have a discussion, even the purest item, the 32, regarding the accessible city, the intersection of the kind of the Hagley Avenue and the Morehouse Avenue. This one is a whole package. If we go ahead, you know, like the 6.3, if we dedicate to the committee, how about the other? This part of package still, you know, to the council. This is my particular concern. The other one, my concern is, at the moment, if we review the structure of the infrastructure and the environment committee, at the moment we have only 5 with the chair together, only 5 the councillors. And also the councillor Vicky Park, she declared this is kind of conflict of interest, you know, only 4. But we compare to the 12, even with the mayor, 13, the councillors, we only 4, you know, dedicate, make a decision. How about the other 2/3? So this is my particular the concern. We need to review it a holistic way, review, rather than these 2 dedicate, but the other facility also part of between the central city to the Riccarton area. That's part of the packaging. So this is my concern. I cannot support.
Can I just make some points just in concluding, and somebody else might like to as well, but I think we should finish the debate. But what I think is important to realise is this council and the previous committee have worked on this issue for a whole year now. I don't believe we can continue to delay and delay and delay. In relation to the idea that, in fact, this is a poor choice, I have to say that in terms of safety, the clear staff reports that are quite emphatic that, in fact, the current location has got considerable advantages in terms of safety. And we have to keep that in mind. I think it's quite clear that Westfield are never going to come to the party, only on their terms. And so, in fact, at this stage, it's essential that we get something up in the interests of the people who catch the buses every day. So I think it's important that, in fact, we support these delegations, that the Community Board are fully involved and are able to continue to make recommendations and join in all briefings, as would all councillors. So I urge you to support the change in 6.2. And
Chair, can we separate the report?
I'm happy to move them separately then. Yep. Okay. Yep. Are there any other final comment, particularly from Glenn hadn't spoken, so, and then if Andrew...
Yeah, just simply by process, really, I think just given the, ideally the committee move was the one we wanted to make, just given the gravity and the contentiousness of the decision, I supported the whole council bearing the load of it. I think if it was just on 4 on this, in this particular case, wouldn't be good. But I think if we all, take ownership for it.
Yeah, just in relation to...
Well, no, I just wanted to move an amendment for 6.3, that it be delegated to council. The decision on the final design remain with council. So just an amendment. There's 2.
6.2 is already an amendment. No?
It's
Okay. So, okay, would that be the case?
great. And Jimmy seconded it. No, I just speak to it. Look, I think working at our public transport priority lanes are really important. I am concerned, though, that this is a project that previously council had on budget. We took it off budget because of concerns around it. It is a contentious project, and I do think it's important that the full council takes ownership of making the decisions around it, given the impact, the significant impact it has citywide. I'm also concerned that on the Environment and Infrastructure and Transport Committee, actually, you've got 2 councillors from the Riccarton and Wigram ward on it. So, you know, if you think of a committee of 5, well, Vicky's, oh, you're not on it. Okay, so, sorry, withdraw that. But it just seems to me that there's just having such a small number of councillors make such a significant decision when we've heard from the community. They want the full council to take the decision on this. And I think, you know, I do think we need to turn our mind to the whole issue of priority projects in terms of PT, because this was put into the cost share, but this wasn't consulted with our community in terms of being a priority. In fact, previous consultations, council had removed it because of the impact that it would have. So I think we need to do it. I can't see any rationale behind saying because of time frames. The reality is that this process is going to take several months at least, because we'll have to go through hearings, we'll have to engage with the community. So I can't see why it should be treated any different to all the other urgent things we have.
Okay, yeah, because this is very crucial. Because based on the staff, the reply, you know, if the 6.3, they still, you know, go to the kind of the hearing, go to the consultation, etc. I don't think so. You know, the kind of the time frame is tight. Is the any excuse? Because if it is necessary, we council. We can have a kind of additional meeting, why not? Because this is a contentious issue. Up to now, I received 11 the kind of the email, all opposed this one. So we need to make this process, you know, more open, transparent, more kind of the reasonable. Otherwise, my personal view, you know, if we go ahead, but still quite a few people, you know, make a complaint, etc. I don't think so. That's a kind of a smart way. I don't think so. Yeah. So I urge the council reconsider it, support the amendment 6.3.
Thank you, Jimmy. I'm going to speak briefly against the amendment. Basically, the committees are open. It's an open, transparent process. I'm totally against having every sort of park of in terms of creating bus priority lanes, parks and the other infrastructure that will be required to be considered, just re-litigated at every council meeting. So it seems to me that's why I'm strongly opposed to the amendment, and I'm supporting 6.2. With that in mind, I'll now put the amendment, which is at the bottom as 6.3, moved by Councillor Hanson and seconded by Councillor Chen. So that council.
That council's at the top.
It's at the top. Okay, so it's understood? Okay. I'll now put the amendment. Those in favour? Aye. Anyone against? No. Sure, we'll have a vote. Can we use the voting system? I'll put the voting again. Is it all set up to go? So if you're in favour of the amendment, you vote yes, and if you're against it, you'd vote no. I voted wrongly. I pushed the wrong button. Can we do that again? Could we do that again? Could we run it again? Could we just do it again? So we're doing the second electronic vote now? So I'll declare the amendment lost. I'll now put the other recommendations. We have an electronic vote on them too? All together? Do councillors want them put all together now, given that the amendment's been lost? I'm sure it will be. So if councillors look at 6.3, that's so that the decision is actually delegated to our committee, and we'll have a vote on that. So can we have an electronic vote on that, please? So if you support the amendment, if you support the recommendation, you'll vote yes. This is particularly on 6.3 because it's been asked for a separate vote on that. So if you support the decision being made by the committee, you'd vote yes. If you're against that, you'd vote no. So I'll declare 6.3 carried. I'll now put the other recommendations all together. We use an electronic vote again. So if you support the other recommendations, you'd vote yes. If you're against them, you'd vote no. I'll declare those recommendations all carried. Thank you very much to the staff for attending to this matter. In terms of getting things done quickly, it's been very important. Thank you.
Thanks.
Councillors, it's now 1:45. There's been a suggestion from Vicky that we have a lunch break, but that we come back for the council meeting at 1:30. So I'll adjourn the council meeting now.